Hey everyone, what's going on? My name is Ghost and today I'll be showing you how to jailbreak your PS3s easier, faster, and safer than ever using the PS3 toolset from the PS3 exploit team. Now this video may seem a little long, but that's because I want to ensure you're up and running and able to load any custom firmware, as well as backups, homebrew, anything that you could possibly imagine. Now, if you already have a jailbroken PS3, you don't need to follow this tutorial at all. If you want to update your jailbreak, there will be a follow-up video soon on how to properly update that so you don't need to re-jailbreak. If you're interested in reading up on this, such as the nitty-gritty details, as well as supporting the developers, which is highly recommended, they put in so much work for this. I'll have an article linked below in the description. Be sure to check that out. It's got all the details, the warnings, just little heads up regarding the PS3 toolset, the PS3 exploit site, things of that nature. Now with all jailbreaks for the PS3, this is limited to only certain models of consoles. First of all, if you have a fat PS3, congrats, you can jailbreak it. It doesn't matter which model, it doesn't matter what all you've really done to it. If you have a fat PS3, it can be jailbroken. If you have a PS3 Super Slim, the one with the sliding top, you cannot jailbreak it this way. Please stop watching and following this tutorial. You can't. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to jailbreak it using HEN, which there will be a follow-up video for that later that everyone can follow. Everybody can use HEN and jailbreak their PS3s that way. If you have a PS3 Slim system, you might be able to jailbreak it. I have some model numbers listed on screen here. Some of them are yes models, some of them are no models, and some are kind of maybes. Shortly into this tutorial, you'll be able to determine whether your Slim PS3 is jailbreakable. In fact, if you can't jailbreak, the tool simply just won't let you. Nice little safety measure in place to prevent any kind of possible bricking that can happen. And so for this jailbreak, we're gonna need a few things. We need our PS3 up and running, which we've got. We're also gonna need our PS3 connected to the internet because this is gonna be using the internet browser for this exploit, which I'm set up good to go. We need a USB flash drive and a computer on hand to download and transfer the files we're gonna need. Check, check. So let's start by checking the firmware we are currently on. And we can do this by going over to settings, going down to system settings, press X on that, down to system information. And as you can see on my system, I'm running the firmware 4.86. Now this works on multiple firmwares from 4.82 all the way up to 4.86. And if you have any of those firmwares currently on your PS3, you can follow along just fine. If you are on a lower firmware, however, you will have to update your system to one of the 5 firmwares mentioned, which are 4.82, 4.83, 4.84, 4.85, or 4.86. Now, before we hammer this jailbreak out, we need to ensure we have the proper date and time set. So once you're connected to the internet, you'll go back over to settings, go to date and time settings, and you can set it from here. The most accurate measurement of date and time is to just click on date and time and set via internet. As you can see for me, it's currently June 9th at 9:40 in the morning. So I'll just hit back on that and we're set. Next up, we should make a second profile in order to perform the jailbreak process. So for this, we can go over to users, create new user. And I'm just gonna leave mine as the default. This is only gonna be used for this jailbreak. So I'm leaving mine saying user 1. You can just click OK. And let's go ahead and sign into our new user now. All right, now that we're signed into our new user, the reason why we create a new user is because with the web browser, we're going to need Flash Player. So if any point you've permanently disabled Flash Player on another user account, everything's been reset with the second user. Now let's do some browser prep. Make sure you are signed in as user 1, jailbreak user, whatever you happen to name it. and head over to your internet browser and let's open this up. Once this opens, there's going to be a few things. First thing, press the triangle button, go over to Tools, go over to Cookies, and make sure this says Allow. Now, press triangle again, back over to Tools, JavaScript on. Now we're going to go back to Tools, we're going to go to Home Page, use a blank page, and hit OK. And now for the last thing, go into Tools once more and delete your cookies, your search history, your cache, and authentication information. Now we're doing all of this so we can have the absolute cleanest browser that we can interface with here. And just as one big heads up here, we only need to delete cookies at the beginning of the process. It's going to be really important to keep session information and things cached when we're doing this. So you only need to clear cookies right here at the beginning of the tutorial. Then as we continue to use PS3 toolset, you don't need to continue to clear out session data or do any of that. Just so people know, this is a big heads up. That was warned about from the developer. You only need to clear this out in the beginning. So now with all that done, let's close out of the browser itself and go right back into it. And now we can go directly to the PS3 exploit webpage. So press start. Delete this out and type in PS3exploit.com. Now keep in mind the PS3 exploit site is missing the E. There's no E in the URL address. So once you have that in, press start and it should load a web page that looks like this. From here, I'd recommend pressing the select button and adding this to your bookmarks just to make it easy to get to later on. After that, we can go to BG Toolset up here at the top. Come down to where it says main site and press X. Now it is going to load up into a second web page and it might take some time to load the first time. So just be patient, let it do its thing. Now, as you can see, this is loaded and it's asking for permission to run the plugin. We want this running. So you can either click yes, just know that you'll be prompted with this question every time we visit this site, in which case you'll say yes every time, or you can check do not display again and then click yes. Now, in my case, it happened to load it up and say that it needs a toolset refresh to utilize the Flash Player plugin. So we'll wait for it to refresh. So after a few seconds, your PS3 will beep 3 to 4 times pretty rapidly and the exploit will initialize completely. Now we can go up and over to Flash Memory Manager. It'll extract the data from the flash memory. We'll just give it a second. And as you can see here, it'll say CFW, so custom firmware, compatible PS3. I have the little check mark. If your PS3 is not compatible with this, it'll be a red X. So at that point, if you've booted this up, there's a red X, you cannot go any further. The system literally will not let you. If you have the green check mark, congrats, you're almost there. However, if you do have the red X, you will not be able to do this. However, you will be able to use PS3 Hen, which Hen is a perfectly viable solution for your console. Once the tutorial is available for that, it'll be linked down below in the description. However, now we have all of this up and running, we confirm that this console is jailbreakable. So with that, we're going to need our USB drive and to download a few things. So let's close out of this and prepare our flash drive. All right, now that we're back over to the PC, we need to take and make sure our flash drive is formatted to FAT32. To check this, you just simply right click on your flash drive, click on properties, and the file system name next to it should be FAT32. If not, you'll need to close out of this, right click, format, and make sure the file system says FAT32, and then click OK. Keep in mind, this is going to erase everything on your flash drive. If you have stuff on it that you'd like to keep, back up all your data. If you happen to have a flash drive that's larger and cannot be formatted to FAT32, there's another tool that we can use. In this case, we'll use FAT32 format. Link will be in the description. Just simply click on the photo here, download the .exe that's prompted, and then once that's over, you'll have this little window right here. Now, you need to make sure that you take note of whatever drive letter your USB is. I cannot be held responsible if you use this and you say format your C drive and lose all of your system data. In this case, mine is F. Now, before we can actually use this program, we have to close out any File Explorer style window, anything that can have access to this USB drive, which currently I only have one open. So I'll close this out. I'll make sure this says F. Default allocation size is fine. Leave it a volume label of USB, quick format, and hit start. And it's going to ask if I want to format it. All data on it's going to be lost. Just hit OK. And there we go. It's done. So you can just close out of that. Come back over to your USB, check your properties again, and file system FAT32. Now that we have our flash drive formatted, let's right click it, eject it, and move it over to our PS3. Now at this point, we're back over to our PS3. We simply need to make sure that our USB drive is plugged in and recognizable. We need to go back over to our browser, wait for this to load up. Once it does, hit select again, go back to the PS3 exploit team website, come back on up, back over to the BG toolset, press X on main site. If prompted again to load, make sure you click yes, wait for the beeps and the initialization. We're going to come back over to Flash Memory Manager, press X on that. And since we're going to be coming back here a couple of times, go ahead and press select and add this to your bookmarks. Now we're going to go down to Flash Memory. We're going to press X on this and we're going to highlight Save Flash Memory Backup. And this part is super important because what it's going to do is it's going to save the flash of the system itself. Meaning if anything goes wrong and your system happens to brick, it can be recovered using this and a hardware flasher or someone who has access to a hardware flasher. Hopefully it never comes to that point, but it never hurts to have backups of anything before you attempt a jailbreak. So now we're going to press X on Save Flash Memory Backup. We're going to come over and select our USB drive. Since I only have one plugged in, it's only going to show one. I'm just going to save it to the root. So I'm just going to click on the USB drive and then click save. And we just wait for this to dump. Should take a couple of seconds up to a minute. All right. And as you can see, mine took a minute and 35 seconds. We have the green check mark. We're good to go. We can just hit close. And now that it's been dumped properly, we can just back out of the browser. Let's unplug our USB, head back over to the PC. Now that we're back over on the PC, we just navigate to our flash drive. Double click on that. We find our dump.hex file. Now by default, you generally won't see the file name extension. If you would like to, just come up here to view and check file name extensions. That way you'll be able to see all extensions or file names for any files that we're going to be working with today. Now with this dump.hex file, what we're going to want to do is create a new folder. You can save this up in the cloud. You can save this locally, do whatever you want with it, but this is going to be your saving grace. I'm just going to create a new folder, call it console backup, open this up, copy, and paste it in here. And now we have a direct copy of our flash dump. Now we can just move this off to the side. Now that we've actually dumped our flash, we've got a backup of it, we can get into jailbreaking our system. So there's going to be a couple of things that we're going to need. First thing that we're going to need is, of course, our custom firmware. I honestly prefer to use Reboot Lite, so that's what I'm going to be using today. However, you can use any other form of custom firmware that you would like to use yourself. So we'll go ahead and click on Reboot Lite, wait for it to load. We'll come down here to the bottom. There's a download link. We'll go ahead and click on that, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom. This is all important information on how to properly install, patches, features, updates, dev notes, anything and everything that you could possibly think of that revolves around this custom firmware. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click on Reboot 4.86.1 Lite Edition and go ahead and download that. Now, of course, I will not be hot linking the actual website itself due to the fact that the devs need the traffic to their website to help support the server cost, or at least offset the server cost that it does for them to do things like this. So just follow along, go to the website, give the devs the traffic that they need so they can continue to do the things that we thoroughly enjoy and create these custom firmwares so that we're able to enjoy jailbroken PS3s. All right, now let's get us some homebrew. We'll come over to Brewology, come down to Multiman, and we'll go ahead and click on that one. So Multiman is generally the one that most people are going to know, or most people are going to recognize. It allows for installation of ISOs to the internal hard drive. You can play games off the hard drive, a USB stick, things like that. So we're just going to download the latest version of the base Multiman, which is always right here at the top. And we'll also drag and drop that PKG file right there to the desktop. Now for Rebug, it does come in a zipped folder. So you will have to extract it here. You'll get a little text document. We'll double click on that. All right, now that you've got your text document open, you'll have a link right up here at the top. We'll go ahead and copy that, paste it into the URL, and it'll auto download the update folder or file. So we'll just drag and drop that onto the desktop. Now that we've pretty much got everything set up that we're going to need, you should have a PKG file, which is going to be your Multiman and possible any other homebrew that you've downloaded, and a custom firmware file, which is going to be Rebug, Cobra, anything else that you've decided that that's what you want to use. For the updated file, it's pretty simple. We're just going to right click on the actual USB inside the root of it. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to title it PS3, all uppercase. We're going to go inside that folder. We're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it update, all uppercase. And then we're going to take our custom firmware. We're going to drag and drop it into that folder. All right, and now we've got our custom firmware. We're just going to right click it, go into rename, And right here, we're just gonna back all of that out. So the only thing that we want this to be titled is PS3 updat.pub. We'll go back into the root of our flash drive, and we'll take our PKG file, which is just gonna be multi-man, and just drag and drop it on there. It's that simple. And once you have all this set up, you can right click on the USB drive, eject it. And now generally the only thing that's left is let's move over to the PS3 and start cracking this thing in. All right, now that we're back over at the PS3, make sure your USB drive is plugged in, being recognized. We're gonna go over to our internet browser and press the X button. And just remember, we're doing all of this on user 2 or user 1, the new user, default, whatever you happen to name it. We're just gonna press the select button, go to PS3 toolset. Remember, if prompted, make sure you hit yes. All right, and now we just need to patch out our system so it can allow for custom firmware to be installed on it. So we just come over here to Flash Memory Manager. Wait for this to load. We'll just come down here to where it says Flash Memory Patch. And here you're going to be greeted with a few options. You can load patch from file, load patch via HTTPS, or you can download the patch file. Now for me personally, because I like to make things as simple as possible, I like to just go to load patch via HTTPS, which does the other 2 steps for you. Now you can just download the patch file onto the USB drive and then load it from there if you'd like, or just do what I'm doing, press X on load patch via HTTPS, wait for it to load the patch up. Essentially what it's doing now is it's downloading the patch, verifying the patch, then loading the patch up so that it can be installed. All right, once that's loaded and been validated and you get your little green check mark there, we can press close on this. We can come back over here to Flash Memory Patch. We'll go all the way down to the bottom and click Apply Loaded Patch. Now here it is going to give us a bit of a warning. This is super important, guys. This is the point of no return. Once this starts, it can't be paused, it can't be canceled, and attempting to cancel it, or if your PS3 loses power, it'll brick your system. The process is reliable, but there's always an inherent risk of bricking anytime you're jailbreaking anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So make sure you're not gonna lose power. This is something you really wanna do. And if you're ready, move over to yes and press the X button. At this point, I recommend putting the controller down entirely and not touching it at all, at least until it's done. All right, there we go. Mine's been installed, it's verified. We've got the little check mark. We can just press close. And we need to reboot our console. So let's close out of the browser, go all the way over. Let's turn our system off. All right, now that we've rebooted our console, we no longer need user 1, default user, whatever you happen to name it. So I'm just gonna go over to my own profile and let's get ready to install our custom firmware. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna, with your USB drive still inserted, go all the way over to settings, go to system update and press X. We're gonna update via storage media, and whatever custom firmware you've chosen to use should come up here. You can click OK. We can come over, accept, press X on start, and wait for it to install. Now that it loaded up, we are going to have to go into the system update installation, press the PlayStation button, and wait for it to install. All right, now that that installed and restarted the system, as you can see, we have a little bit of a different splash screen there. We can go ahead and sign into our user. And if you move over, you've got the package manager. Looks a little bit different. Congratulations, your PS3 is now jailbroken. So let's go ahead and install some Homebrew for the first time. So we'll go over to package manager, press the X button, install package files, go to standard, and right here we've got our multi-man. So we'll go ahead and we'll press X on that. It'll install it to the system. Install's now been completed. We just press circle, and multi-man's installed, as well as any other homebrew that you might have downloaded or installed and everything else. Congratulations, your PS3 is now jailbroken. It can also play backed up games and things like that. Now, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more things like it, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and a comment as well. I'll also have a follow-up video for my PS3 Super Slim users on how to install Hen, so you guys can also enjoy homebrew content, because it's not quite a custom firmware, it's more of a hybrid one. I also stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so be sure to drop on by. Let's talk about all things gaming, jailbreaking, you know, anything under the sun. But until next time, I will see you all later. Have a fantastic day.